Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of stabbings, the show of being taken over by alien entities while having Leonard Nimoy look at you all weird and stuff. Today's chat is a little bit different. Today's chat is in memoriam of Halloween fastly approaching, and as I do every October, I watch a hell of a lot of horror movies, and as it turns out, lots of my friends and lots of great people in this industry love horror movies as well. So today, as part one of two for our horror movie shows at Show to V, we talked to Billy Hankey of King B and Don Swaynos, a producer, editor, director that specializes in horror movies, and in fact just had a movie premiere at Fantastic Fest. We sat in the corner of King B, we listened to some music, and we talked horror movies, and hopefully you guys will get some good suggestions out of the mix. So I hope you guys enjoy this chat with Billy Hankey and Don Swaynos.
Very young child, I still remember it being, well, young is, I guess, relative.
The Tim Curry it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And remember standing in front of the TV with my hand on the on the dial to turn the channel and hearing my little sister screaming, "Mom, Billy's watching that movie, It." And my mom just screams across the house, "Well, if he has nightmares, he can stay in his room." And
because it's like, that's, what is that, 80? Is it 80 or 90?
No, that would have been...
Because I can't remember.
It has to have been maybe like late 80s, early 90s.
89, 89 or so.
Yeah. Because I definitely wasn't a teenager, so it wasn't too far into the 90s.
Right. Well, it's insanely creepy.
Yeah.
And they're remaking it.
They're remaking a lot of things.
How you feel about that?
Yeah. It's... I know people who write movies and make movies, and we all have friends who do screenplays, and it'd be nice to see some,
original shit.
Yeah.
Well, so that's obviously a perfect segue into, I've brought us all together because I wanted us to talk about horror movies, but I wanted it to be targeted, right? Because we could go on for hours. Shit, we could talk about Tim Curry and It for probably 20 minutes.
Yeah, you definitely could.
From Frankenfurter to anyway. So I've asked everybody to kind of think of three movies that hopefully I haven't seen some, because I'm always looking for suggestions.
Yeah.
And that is a common question this month. It's like, dude, what should I watch? Which horror movies? A couple come to mind, of course. But for you, so in no particular order, what is one of those top three horror movies for you?
Easily one of the top three is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but it's got to be the 1973 version with
Donald Sutherland,
Goldblum.
right? Yeah.
And Goldblum, Sutherland, and Leonard Nimoy.
And who's the woman isn't real famous, but she was big at the time, right?
She was, and I
can't remember who it was.
I don't either. I feel.
So there's a couple iconic scenes in that movie, but it feels gross, that movie. Yeah. So what is that? How does that appeal to you? This movie about being overcome by some kind of foreign alien.
I think it's the whole like fear of not knowing exactly what you're dealing with. That whole kind of like, am I dealing with a real person? Am I dealing with somebody who's supposed to be real but not quite?
Leonard Nimoy doesn't help. because he's already kind of alien-like. It's like, well, fuck, is he the guy that brought all these to the city?
Right.
What is it happening? Is it like Boston or something?
I think so. Yeah. It's been. I haven't revisited
East
the movie
Coast,
in a
though,
little while.
right?
It's East Coast. It is. Yeah, it's a large city, but it's definitely not like New York or enormous type thing.
Something just under the radar in a way.
Yeah. I mean, the scenes that typically stand out, other than the one that everyone remembers with like the dump truck pulling the pods and dumping those.
Oh yeah.
But it's the there's that one particular scene where they're in the spa and like the mud baths in the back, and just like watching the cocoons slightly crack open with the new people in the spa.
Yeah, it's a gross scene. Well, so we've both seen it. I've actually seen. I think we've probably both seen all of them.
Yeah,
right. Because there's like 3 or 4. Because there's actually one with Annabelle something that was done in the 90s, and then there's the Invasion with Daniel Craig and stuff.
Yeah.
But so give me the general synopsis of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1973.
I would have to venture to say, if I remember correctly, it is a guy who starts realizing that things are not as they should be, and that everyone is starting to slowly change and develop into very odd shells of themselves and
emotionless, right?
Yeah,
like affectless.
Yeah. Just kind of doing things the way that they are supposed to be done, but then suddenly everyone who has an opinion and has an emotion starts getting herded into groups, and then kind of very I hesitate to say, but almost Holocaust kind of shepherded off. And
that's great. It is right.
Yeah.
Because the original is in the 50s, late 50s probably. And to think about, because you say a couple things, and there's a couple themes there I think are really interesting. People are affectless and almost emotionless, yet they still function.
Yeah.
Similar to walking with your phone in your hand down the street. Not interacting with anybody. Right? And then there is also this piece where it's, do you think, and I don't know what the source material was, I don't know if it was a book or whatnot, but do you think that in a way that it is about us being able to have control? Maybe it is like kind of a metaphor for maybe the government, or I can't imagine like maybe communism was a thing in the 50s.
I can only imagine that it's more like a metaphor of trying to ensure that you're fighting for I like looking at it more of the I guess, what is that going to be, protagonist side, where you're looking to save yourself and save humanity and fight for
Hobbesian, I guess, right?
Yeah.
People are good, you want to save them, maybe.
Yeah. And you want people to continue on to be themselves and be everything that they can be, instead of, automaton,
right,
robots.
Freedom, man. Freedom of expression, right? Well, it's an interesting time to talk about that, too. The debates for last night, but I'm sure that will be a thread through many of these conversations. But that's that's a great start. I love the I don't have control of my body anymore and something took me over kind of movies, like the Cronenberg style shit,
Yeah.
So what is your next movie in this top 3?
It's Christopher Lee says that it's not a horror movie, but it is absolutely a horror movie. It's got to be Wicker Man.
Oh my God, it's a horror movie. Talking about not having control again, right?
You might realize that there's something that I kind of fear in general, maybe not having control over things.
That's a good theme too. And it is the oddest now, spoiler alert, right? But this is also early 70s. Do you remember what year this is?
I think this is like 75. It's a couple of years later, like 75, 77, somewhere around there. But yeah, no, it's got the same kind of suspenseful a feeling that the Invasion does, and just a very, very, very beautiful, artsy, and those animal masks still haunt me to this day.
It's crazy, and I had not remembered those masks until you just said that. I'm thinking like, are those the masks that are in your next? Right? Because I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
Are those the same masks?
Yeah, they look very, 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 very similar, and like eerily similar to where I don't know if I necessarily like this.
Yeah, it's creepy. So, but the thing that my question always about the Wicker Man. And, of course, we'll have to probably spoil it, but it's an insane ending for one. This ruse this
Yeah.
whole time against
Yeah.
Edward Woodward, right? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Equalizer himself,
Yeah.
and the dude that ended up being in Hot Fuzz, playing in a movie kind of like about the Wicker Man.
Uh-huh.
But what the hell is with that soft, beautiful music? That's like a musical too.
Yeah. No, and that's some of the beauty of it, and that I think it definitely sets a tone. It definitely sets like that unsuspecting, innocent feeling comes from you, and you kind of bathe in it, and then you start realizing that everything is not what it's supposed to be, and everything is not nearly what it. I mean, all you're doing is just trying to find this little girl. I don't
Yeah,
quite
so give
get
me
it.
the recap for those of us that have only seen the Nicolas Cage version. God forbid.
Yeah, and I don't even remember. I don't remember. Yeah,
But ultimately, right? Like there's a girl. It's a
yeah.
Scotland Yard,
No,
right?
yeah, and he's it's a guy who works for Scotland Yard, and he's going out and to an island, and he's trying to figure out where this little girl has disappeared to, and everyone on the island is trying to convince him that she doesn't exist, and it's a very kind of challenging your reality situation
Because he knows she's been abducted, right?
Yeah.
He shows up, and the people are like, "Nah, man, we don't know what you're talking about."
Susie, what's a
Who's
Susie?
that?
Yeah.
And so then it seems even more suspicious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, it is a ruse.
Yeah.
To do what exactly?
And
The epic ending, right?
the epic ending with the giant burning sacrifice, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In wood.
Yeah.
Literally, a Wicker Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you a big fan of Christopher Lee's stuff? You know, his Dracula and all that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
not creepy like this.
no, and that's kind of the hidden gem for me is that weird, creepy edge to it.
Yeah. Well, you've got this huge similarities. 70s creep vibe.
Yeah.
Which fucking happens. There's like The Shining, which is actually 80, but it still has that 1970s creep vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know what's going on. Something's controlling you. So we've got Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1973, and then mid-70s with The Wicker Man. So round this list off. I'm trying to think of what other movies about losing control of your body and being burned and or taken over by an alien being might be on your list, Billy.
It has to go with the cult classic Phantasm.
Phantasm. Oh, jeez. Yeah. All right.
The tall man.
The tall man
will haunt your dreams.
Can you remember the first time you saw that?
I was probably about like 13, 14. And
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, not really settling.
No, it is not settling at all, yeah.
The little spheres are that dentist drill. I mean,
yeah,
that dentist drill sound for the spheres.
Oh my god,
still grinds me a little bit if I'm at the dentist.
How is one of the best theme songs I think too of any movie, any horror movie? It's like up there with The Exorcist for me. If you go back and watch, it's kind of like proggy 70s, but that adds to it as well.
Yeah.
What the hell? And we watched it the other day. I think we were high, so it was a little bit more disconcerting. What is with the miniature Martian dudes that look like Jawas?
I think
Jawas
those
from
miniature
Star Wars?
Martian dudes, if I remember correctly, those are like his like little minions. They're like the little demons that are collecting all of the bodies and souls and bringing them back to the other dimension.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Can you to help any of us, because I don't know that I can even come up with a clear narrative sometimes, but can you give me like a rough idea of what the fuck this movie is about? Because it's crazy.
If I can describe it properly, I would have to say that it was about a kid and his friends who discover that people are kind of coming up missing and things are coming up missing, and they trace it back to a funeral parlor that is run or housing the tall man who's
Angus Schramm.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
just passed, actually.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it still scares me.
And apparently, do you know that and this is an interesting thing about Phantasm, because that's one of my top as well, always, right?
Yeah.
He was a writer for TV Guide. He wrote partially the Cheers and Jeers section of TV Guide. He was apparently one of the nicest guys ever, but is he not the creepiest?
No. The heel to toe like dress shoes across like quiet marble floors is and I think he was in all all of them
Yeah.
except for this last one.
I
That's
think he even had some scenes.
He has a cameo in this one?
I think
Okay.
so, yeah.
Because I know that one's either just came out or about to, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to
How did you...
wait for it to come out on video.
Right, because there's like 6 or 7 of them. How did you feel about the subsequent sequels?
I think it was up to, and I'm gonna get this wrong, but there's one where the kid is traveling through the void with a convertible, and I want to say that was like number 3.
Yeah.
And then I once I got up to about 3 is when I started kind of going, all right, like
What the
this
fuck
is this is venturing onto like, you know, like Jaws 4, where like
Michael Caine, right?
Yeah, where Jaws is a giant piece of styrofoam, and you can totally tell it's a giant piece. Yeah, it loses all of it.
Do you remember how Mario Van Peebles was in that movie?
No, I don't.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was the dreadlocked guy. That was kind of their boat. They're much like Robert Shaw was in the first one, right?
Yeah.
And there is the most offensive thing, and I only saw it on VHS once. We'd always, you know, the Friday night thing. Did your folks rent movies and stuff VHS, and just kind of you guys watch movies?
Yep. And I was allowed to get one scary movie every time that we went out. And
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And you go and you do this, but there's this one scene in Jaws 4. I'm fairly certain, and I can't find any record of it. So either I was an early on racist kid, or I really did see this. But Michael Caine's in this movie, and so Jaws gets Mario Van Peebles.
Yeah.
And they're like, shit, he's dead. And so in the TV version, last time I saw it, he's dead. No big deal. However, on the VHS version, he's floating in the water. They find him after they kill Jaws. And he goes, Jaws don't like black meat, man. I am not fucking kidding you. I swear to God. It's like one of the most offensive things.
Holy shit.
Isn't that terrible?
No, that is awful.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
in its own right, pretty fucking horrific.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, so do you ever have during the holiday season when it comes to, you know, weather is getting cooler, the booze is flowing. Do you have any kind of rituals every Halloween? Stuff that you always watch, sit down and watch some stuff with Colette?
It gets tricky with Colette because she's not necessarily a scary movie person. So if I find thrillers that it's because she never really got into horror movies, and so I've been able to. It's been fun in the last I guess it's been almost 6-7 years now that we've been together. It's been fun because occasionally I can get her into a mood of, as long as it's not too gory,
right?
We can watch some stuff. So we can watch like, you know, freaks and like really creepy, weird.
What about haunting stuff? Is that all right for her?
Haunting is fine. It's when it starts getting into like religious haunting where she's kind of like, I don't really like this.
Yeah.
You know, so
Exorcist is out of the picture then maybe.
Yeah, and it's as long as there's not like, you know, someone pushing religion or something like that, she's generally fine.
Amenable.
Yeah.
To the idea of scary movies.
Yeah, and I have to be okay with the fact that about 30 minutes into it, she's going to stand up and start walking around the room and
it's like, pay attention. This is important.
And she's like, I'm paying attention. Don't worry about it.
They never are.
No,
they never are.
As am I.
I think it's a good list, Billy. I mean, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 70s version of Wicker Man, it's great. Phantasm. You're a 70s dude.
Yeah, I was born a couple of generations late, I guess.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, the 60s didn't put out as good stuff, I don't think. 70s has a specific time and place, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then you jump into the 80s and 90s, and it starts getting into slasher, and it starts getting like who can make them goriest and most grotesque, and you know, you start getting desensitized to a lot of that stuff, and so it's there's, you know, same with music, like innuendo and kind of, you know, tongue in cheek stuff is more enjoyable to me.
Yeah, me too. These are really creepy movies, man.
Yeah,
perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect selection.
Awesome.
Of stuff.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, I've seen them all because I always want suggestions. I always would be caught off guard, you know.
Yeah.
So, but
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Good. The guys Zach Carlson,
Yeah.
Josie Emba, and Annie Choi found this movie. They found actually James Bryan's last movie called Run Coyote Run in the back of a used car.
I think. What was the screening that we went to? I don't know if
so
it was,
they screened that. They put
that was that
out.
one, right? Yeah.
And then they went, and when they kind of went to go get the master tapes from him, he mentioned this other movie that he never finished. So that made them curious. They started a Kickstarter. I saw the Kickstarter and was like, "Oh my god, this sounds amazing!"
Yeah.
Because he shot it and he kind of started putting it together, but he'd never finished.
Do you know why I didn't finish it?
The distributor went out of business.
Oh, I gotcha.
So there was no home for it.
Yeah.
So he figured,
And it's called the
Jungle
Trap, right? Yeah.
And so we finished it, or I cut it, and then Joe and Annie did like this amazing period appropriate score.
Yeah. It's actually like a score.
Yeah.
That's
really
amazing.
scored way more than it would have been.
Yeah. High production value.
All synthesizers from the period and drum machines from the period.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then the director saw it for the first time at the premiere at Fantastic.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
he was there.
Yeah. He was there, and he hadn't seen it. I mean, I don't know if he'd watched the tapes, but I mean, he probably hadn't seen it in 25 years.
How did that go? What did you think?
It was great. He seemed really overwhelmed and blown away.
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
the response was great. I mean, there's a lot of jokes in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a low budget.
Well, his stuff is
lo-fi
jokey.
movie.
Yeah.
Right, and his stuff is jokey. But I think the jokes in this movie, independent of anything I did, I think they work really well. I think they work better than the jokes in some of his other films.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it played really well. They added a second screening.
That's amazing.
Then, it's going to be released early next year sometime on Bleeding Skull Video through Mondo.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a VHS limited edition,
dude,
and then DVD and VOD.
It all comes full circle. Right, because you work in Hollywood. We talked about this before, but you work at a video store. We kind of grow up on this shit. We still both have VHS, so obviously it's really, really apropos that we sit down and we say, we're gonna get laser focused this time.
Yeah,
we're not gonna talk about Faith No More, Refused, fucking everything else. We're gonna talk about horror movies.
Yeah.
And I think that works now. It finally is kind of cold, and so I've assembled this group of people, all men, unfortunately. I'd love to see which women. I don't know a lot of women, besides my wife, that really likes horror movies, but I've asked you guys, all right, 3. Pick 3. It might be hard.
Yeah.
But pick 3 movies, and you, I think, have an encyclopedic knowledge of horror movies. So I have no goddamn clue what would resonate for you.
It's tricky. I mean, it's tricky because I think a lot of my relationship with horror movies and what I like about horror movies is more in like the mood and the iconography than necessarily them being scary.
That's right. Yeah.
Like I don't really think of like The Exorcist as a horror movie.
Really?
Because like narratively, it's like a drama.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just scary.
Right. Which is the all tone you're saying.
Well, and I mean, but there's something to me that it's like Friday the 13th Part 5, which is like one of the worst ones, is like a horror movie to me because it's like it feels like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Even though it's not scary.
Yeah. It's just blood and guts. It's almost like pornographic. Not in the sexual way, but just for the violence sake, right?
Sort of, but not even the violence, just the fact that it's like narratively it's just like this simple thing.
Yeah.
There's a monster and it's and
killing people easy.
Yeah, and there's a threat, and that's kind of it. And we're not worried about people's feelings or
not at all.
Or arcs.
I can't recall a single character that I gave a shit about in Friday the 13th movie.
No, I mean even Tommy Jarvis, right?
Yeah,
who's Corey Feldman, and then 2 other actors.
Yeah.
Who's in 3 movies?
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah,
they switched out the actor.
Because they jump ahead between parts 4 and 5.
Okay.
They jump ahead like 15 years.
Oh, is Feldman 4 or 5? 4,
Feldman's
right?
4.
4, right? And
He's
then
the
so
kid
is
who makes the
Terry Gross, the guy that was Weekend at Bernie's.
Yes.
Right? Is that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, same dude. Which
they all blur together.
They really do blur together.
But then, I think 4 and 6 are good.
Okay.
These
good.
are not on my list, but I'm going to say.
No, sure. Well, I think
if you're going to watch Friday the 13th, what I remember as a kid watching them is part 4 and part 6.
That makes some sense.
That's what those movies are to me.
As an adult, Jason Goes to Hell is actually amazing to me. Have you watched
that one's fun.
Because it's almost non-canonical. Is that the word to say?
Yeah, they sort of just throw it away.
Yeah, like Halloween 3.
Right.
Which is, again,
a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I can't wait because I don't know any of these movies. I'm a huge fan of horror.
Right.
What do you got? What's the first one in no particular order?
No, I mean, if this was
list?
so I was just thinking if I'm gonna say to somebody,
yeah,
what to watch,
you're on an island,
right?
Kind of shit.
Yeah. So I went with that approach over the recommend me something I've never heard of.
Sure, because we could go. Oh, we'll be intentionally esoteric, and you watch Necromantic or something,
right? Yeah. But I didn't do that.
No, I like that's good.
Yeah, so I just kind of went with like the classics.
Okay, no, but that's good. What's the first on the?
So I think the first one though is one that I think of as a horror movie, but it's also very scary.
Okay.
So Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
of course, the original.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Why? Now I got my reasons, but for you, why? Is
it's so super effective.
Yeah.
To me, and
why though?
I don't know why. It just works so well. It's so intense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even when I saw it, I'd already seen all the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Streets, and so it's like that. It's not like just the story that makes it scary, that somebody's killing people. It's the execution of it that makes it scary. And it's not that it's gory. There's really not even much blood. But I think it's the score,
those like abrasive noises.
I mean, it's not even music, it's just these sounds.
Do you know what that sound is? I've never been able to figure it out.
Somebody, it's like there's some instruments in there that are being like tuned.
Oh, okay.
Like sort of tuned and bent in weird ways. There's
Gotcha.
like string instruments and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
You know what the weirdest thing is about, and you're right, because I remember when I saw it in 1998, it was the first time I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was living out in Katy. Actually, we were both living out in Katy. And my friend had to be dropped off because I didn't have a car, and we had to drive through before it was developed. Kind of the more desolate areas of Katy, which are just these sprawl, dirty, like dusty hills and shit. I'm like, can we like get back on I-10?
Yeah.
For a movie that's based on something that never happened.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big misnomer that people don't understand.
Right.
Misconception. It is intensely scary.
It is.
But I wonder why it's scary. Is it because of the fact that it is so rural Texas? Like that could happen?
I mean, I think there's something about it that probably comes because it was released in 1974.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's probably got a lot of like post Manson family.
Oh, good point.
Paranoia, like
sure.
that sort of early 70s. There are people out there who, for no reason,
just fucking
would enjoy just torturing and murdering you.
Yeah, that's a great
for
point.
reasons that you will never understand.
Yeah.
And so it's coming off of that reality, whereas like later, Friday the 13th is like based on Halloween. Whereas, like, the
good
Texas
point.
Chainsaw
Right.
Massacre is based on the Manson family. It's like it's based on a real thing.
That's a good point.
So, and there's like, I mean, one of my favorite moments in that movie is when when the kids are when they first come into the house,
right?
And
I think I know. Yeah,
right. And it's he grabs the woman, he puts her on the meat hook,
and he shuts that door.
He shuts the door. But then there's this moment. I think it's when the next guy comes in.
Right.
And he hits him,
Mm-hmm.
and then Leatherface goes and sits down.
Yeah.
And it like lingers on him as he's just sort of like panicking like an animal. Like, why are people coming into my house? What's going on? And it's this weird moment where it makes you realize that he's human.
Yeah.
Like it's something that never happens with Jason or Freddy.
Right, because they're superhuman. Even Michael Myers doesn't have a human moment, really.
No.
Yeah.
And so this
you're
fact that
right.
it's like it's this guy and he's not like us, but he's a human and he's just freaking out because he's protecting himself.
It's insane.
And so that's
one of the best, obviously.
Yeah, and I saw that around the same time you did, actually. Because Because I think like growing up, it was like
really
Freddy
forbidden.
And Jason were cool.
Well, yes, right.
And so like you had to see those because those are the ones everybody talked about, and those are the ones. But like nobody talked about Leatherface. Like I know in the sort of 80s horror nostalgia, they've all gotten lumped together, but so it was never like cool to see it. So I didn't see it until I moved to Texas. And I moved to Texas and I rented it thinking like, oh, it's going to be like a Texas version of Friday the 13th.
So much more than that.
And it is. And so I just did not expect it at all. Totally blew me away.
I think it was, I'm pretty sure we talked about this. Mm-hmm. Was there not something, like because you said you saw, I think it was Eggshells or something? There was a Tobe Hooper screening that you saw.
That.
Yeah, before that. Yeah, the movie, right.
Mm-hmm.
And, which is cool about early Austin and interesting. But You were saying something about Kubrick being in the same sound studio mastering The Shining. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the greatest things. And
Toby Hooper told a story, right?
Yeah.
It was when they were doing, I think, Poltergeist?
yes, that's right, yeah.
Because I think that would probably be when he would be on the same budget level as Kubrick ever.
Right, having Spielberg help out and stuff.
Yeah. And he said, like, yeah, and that was the thing, right, is that when prepping for The Shining, I think he said Kubrick had a print of Texas Chainsaw Massacre that he would watch over and over and over again.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
So insane.
It's to have the guy that is an auteur and a maestro of the whole, he's mastered film.
Right.
But still, Toby Hooper, some hippie from Boston,
Right.
really like
Yes.
a peaceful guy, has made one of the most frightening movies ever.
And I do, part of me does wonder if there is some unintentional, if it's like kind of almost unintentionally effective.
Yeah.
Because I know I've heard them talk about how they thought it was funny. Like when
Right.
Kim Henkel and Toby Hooper were writing it, they were like, this is really funny.
Can never see that.
You know?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so, yeah, and you're like, what the heck? Like maybe the hitchhiker and that song's playing, that's
right.
kind of funny.
And the noises Leatherface makes, but they're
Yeah.
actually pretty
right,
eerie.
yeah, but like once it gets going, like it's not funny.
No,
at
it's
all.
not funny at all.
And so, so it's always been weird to me. I sort of wonder how much of it, because, you know, and they said they thought it would be a PG movie. That's why there's no blood.
Oh my God.
And you just wonder, like, did you guys mess up and make this masterpiece?
By accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I like some of Toby Hooper's other movies, but there's nothing that effect. Like, even to me, Poltergeist.
I love
feels like a
Poltergeist, but that's
Spielberg
it's a
movie a little
Spielberg.
bit to me.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I don't buy into the theory necessarily that Spielberg directed it for Toby Hooper.
Yeah, I don't know how all that went
But
down.
I think just like because the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's like, we want to scare people. How do we scare them? We should just make a noise that goes,
right,
you know, really loud.
like creating the standard. There was no standard for this.
No,
you know?
and it's also not anything that, like, on Poltergeist, he's not going to be like, yeah, we'll just like grab some violence.
No, you
and
can't. It's all
hit 'em on
too
the floor.
Yeah, it's all too
It's like,
intentional.
no, we're going to write you a score. And
right.
You
Dude.
revise it, and yeah. So I think that sort of experimentation
Yeah,
is what makes it.
so unique and so perfect.
It is unique, and
Yeah.
that's what's weird too. Is it's like a template for all these movies that came later.
Yeah,
But none of them are like it.
not
Like,
at all.
none of them have that punk rock.
grittiness.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
lo-fi, and it's a beautiful looking movie.
Absolutely.
Like when you see like the new Blu-ray, like it's really like some of those shots, like the shot where the woman gets out of the swing and walks up to the house.
Yeah.
And it's
Just
just like
beautiful and
dolly
rich.
shot.
Going-
Yeah,
Who would have fucking thought?
I know, it's
Right?
crazy.
It's crazy. All right, that's a perfect.
So that's
obviously
number one.
everybody has to see that movie.
You do.
You have to. It's just like reading Farewell to Arms or With Mice
Right.
and Men and something.
Well, and I
right?
find that a lot of people haven't seen it because they just sort of make that assumption that, like, oh, it's a slasher movie, and I've seen Halloween,
Right.
and I've seen Friday the 13th, so
Yeah, it's so
I know what it would be.
so cerebral. Oddly
Well,
enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like a really. I just think like if you're gonna go like, well, what's a good scary movie? You know, just like
Right.
the way if you want to see a romantic comedy, you should watch Annie Hall.
Sure.
If you want to see a scary movie, you should watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Absolutely, no exception.
Yeah, it's like the template, and it's also new enough. I think that it's not an academic watch.
No,
Like I think like
it's
some
enjoyable.
of the classic
It's guttural
horror stuff.
Yeah.
is you know, like Dracula or Frankenstein. You have to sort of imagine what it was like for an audience in 1930.
Right, or the Haunting or something like that.
Yeah.
The castle stuff. Yeah,
But like for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's like, nope, you get it.
might be the first modern horror movie.
Yeah,
Think about
I'd say
that.
so.
All right, so amazing way to start.
Yeah,
What is
okay, yeah.
what? All right, and I'm thinking of this drum rolls in my head and all this bullshit.
Uh-huh.
What is number 2?
Well, number 2 is sort of standard,
Okay,
almost part of my Halloween decorating.
really?
It's such you know,
Like
common
aesthetically?
play
Okay.
in my house
Right.
for the month of October would be Suspiria.
Oh my gosh! But see, this is one for you and I that everybody knows Suspiria, but people
Yes.
don't really know Suspiria.
Right.
And tell me exactly why you like Suspiria.
And I mean, Suspiria's got some scares in it,
Sure.
but
It's
to me,
creepy,
it's,
right? Just
yeah, but to me, it's just like there's a tone to it that's just like I just want to live in the world of that movie. These like rich colors,
beautiful.
amazing music,
Yeah.
you know, and it's all these like, you know, just and these like amazing set pieces. And I've seen that movie so many times.
Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful.
I can kind of tell you what it's about, sort
so
of.
yeah.
Like,
So
I've
give me a couple things because I think I know what it's about.
Right,
and
right.
then give me like a couple sentences. Don fixed his own pop filter. See, you're an editor and a sound
look
engineer,
at that.
Don. Nah.
Hold on. Okay. Oh. There you go. Okay, cool. We're right. It's about an
what
American.
the hell is it about?
An American woman, Susie Banyan,
Right.
Who goes
Jessica
to
Harper,
Jessica
right?
Harper,
Yep.
who goes to this ballet school in Italy.
Yeah. Sounds good already. Yeah, it's in Italy, isn't it? It's in some European
but
country.
Part of me is wanting to say Germany right now.
Actually, it might be Germany. But either way, it's European.
Yeah. Right. And so she
far
goes
off
to Europe,
land. Yeah.
right? And it's not like you ever leave the school or
Right.
anything. Goes to this ballet school, which it turns out is run by witches.
Yes. A coven of witches, right? Well, I guess you don't know that yet.
That's where things get a little hazy for me in terms of what exactly
the fuck is going on?
is going on. Yeah, like I can't really. I mean, but it's great and it's dreamlike and it's so beautiful. Like normally that would drive me crazy if I watched the movie.
Not having like a narrative
I
that
watched
you
the movie
can't
and I'm
really.
like, what the fuck happened? Who
Yeah.
the fuck? What?
Yeah.
They were okay. I guess they were witches, but what? Like normally, like if that movie looked like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Right.
I'd be like, what a piece of shit.
Unsatisfying. Completely.
Even though Texas Chainsaw Massacre looks great.
Yeah. But it's got a
there's
thing.
such a style, and it's sort of broken up into these set piece moments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're like, oh, we're with this person, oh, because they're gonna get murdered, and you know the great scene where the
the window above and everything.
well that I mean
that's a
that
great
opening
one.
scene
Yeah.
is amazing.
Jesus.
But then there's like the scene where the little the maggots fall from the
Oh yeah.
you know, and it's just like, and then like the scene with the room full of barbed wire and
Why do you think Dario Argento romanticized death scenes so much? Because they're beautiful.
man.
Like
They are.
I don't like watching people get killed typically,
No.
but he does it in such an operatic way.
Yeah, and it moves kind of. It's pretty abstract.
Yeah.
A lot of times, there's a few moments in that movie that aren't, but that opening stabbing with the huge
Piece of glass, right?
huge stained
yeah,
glass
yeah.
ceiling or whatever,
Yeah.
is great. But like, you know, as she's being stabbed, we're cutting to shots of her heart
Yeah.
as the knife is piercing it, which is so
Jesus.
bizarre.
Yeah.
But it also it doesn't feel gross. It sort of feels just
It's beautiful.
almost like something that would happen in a comic book or something.
Yeah, and the
know?
way that the color is, right? It's
Yeah,
so bright
I mean,
and
yeah,
vivid.
they
It's almost
definitely help. And
surreal.
yeah, the blood's always like really red, and he doesn't have that in most of his other movies. Like,
Right.
most of his other movies,
Would you consider this like his classic, the apex of his creative career?
like if you're like, who is he? What does he do?
Yeah.
I'm curious about Dario Argento, or even like I'm curious about European horror movies.
Right.
You know, I'd say like this is how you, because there's a ton that I could recommend to you.
For
but,
sure.
like, you know, I think this one's also too. A lot of those are sort of in that giallo genre of like being mysteries.
Right.
And this one's kind of just post that. It's sort of like a transition between those sort of mysteries and then like slasher movies.
Yeah.
So it's got a, because
Do you think it's
can't really-
cerebral film? You think it's all intentional, the dreamlike
yeah,
feelings?
I
and all that?
do.
Yeah.
I think yeah. And I think there's moments in it that don't work for me
Yeah.
that I forget every time I watch it. Like
It's
remember
every
there's
one
that
of
scene
his
with the
films.
bat,
Oh yeah, right.
which is so dumb. And every time the movie comes on, I'm like, oh right, I hate this scene.
but the
it's
rest of
fine.
the rest of it's too beautiful to.
Yeah,
You know.
but like I actually just forget about that scene because narratively, it's not like it's even really. It's not like I need that scene for the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so. But yeah, I just think. I mean, and the score is amazing. So
Goblin
bizarre.
Man.
Yeah, and just you know
That opening, the rain and the
Yes.
the bells and all that.
And I think a lot of the times I've seen that movie is me putting it on like late at night.
Yeah.
You know, and then like falling asleep. You know,
Yeah.
but like I get through that opening.
Oh, yeah.
the music.
And then you're like, First Murder, I can probably check out now.
Totally, yeah.
But
and
it
then
is
at
a
some
beautiful.
point after
It
that.
is beautiful. Do you
Yeah,
think
it's just
that?
a beautiful movie?
Do you ever do aspire to create that kind of aesthetic? You think?
I don't know.
Is
To
it
me,
something that
it's-
affects you like that?
I mean, I don't know that it appeals to me anymore. I think
Yeah.
initially, like when I was interested in movies, it appealed to me that it was like this super stylish thing. But yeah, I don't know that like now I'd want to do something that aggressively stylish.
Right.
I
Because
also
it is
think
over the top.
Yeah, and I think it'd be hard to actually do something like that and make it emotionally resonant because that movie isn't really.
It's not, but it's still cerebral enough that it's dreamlike, and so you know that it doesn't work in the realm that we're of reality right now.
Yes,
but it works on this almost like less lackadaisical and kind of sleepy state where you're waking up in the morning. It works there.
Yes.
Which is a very unique thing that he's able to achieve.
Right, and it's also cool because it's the dreamy thing,
Yeah.
but then it's the music can be so dissonant and sort of garish
stuff. Yeah.
that it's sort of working against that.
Yeah. It's very multi-tempoed in that way.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we've got our punk rock,
Yeah.
very guttural horror movie that is exactly what it is.
Yes.
And then you have this cerebral, almost like a metaphor of many other things, and it's almost discreetly linear in a way. So how do you round this top 3 list out? I don't even know where you're gonna go.
I for the third one, I'm gonna say, and this is all sort of along the lines of if you're looking for a horror movie to watch,
Right. Okay, so this is more of like you might not have seen this, but you should check it.
But yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
But I'd say Basket Case.
Basket Case. Oh.
But
tell me why that one works. That's completely different than the rest of these.
I know. For me, it's such a singular movie.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because it's a comedy.
Right. Oh, totally.
And it's a horror movie.
It is scary. Sincerely
in ways,
scary. Yeah.
It's gory, but you're also pretty early on. You're with the monster.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's a good point.
So it's not scary in the way Friday the 13th or whatever is, in air quotes, scary. Yeah. But there's just always been something about it. Like something that got me into filming initially was like horror comedies.
Yeah. Toxic Avenger, shit like that.
Not so much
not
Toxic
trauma
Avenger.
stuff necessarily.
Not so much. I mean,
Evil Dead.
Evil
right?
Dead 2,
yeah,
definitely. And so then like I remember watching all these other horror comedies trying to find things that had that sort of odd, and like Rocky Horror Picture Show too.
Yeah,
just like movies that were just sort of like horror feel but fun, and and Basket Case just for some reason did that for me.
I think it unintentionally does that. Do you think that he trying to make it a comedy like that?
I think there's stuff that's like feels to me like definite comedic beats. But that's what's so interesting to me about it is that I guess I should say what it's about.
Yeah, elevator pitch. You're selling Basket Case.
Yeah,
What is
so it's about a guy goes to New York in the early '80s, Times Square, stays in a dingy hotel. He's got a big basket with him, and it turns out inside the basket is his deformed, conjoined twin.
Yes,
who's just like an arm and a mouth and screams and
right.
And they've come to New York to hunt down the doctors who perform the operation to separate them. And so that's the movie. So it's basically a revenge movie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's what's so weird. But the opening scene is a total like almost horror movie parody.
Right.
Like the phone line being pulled out and this guy in his house freaking out, and then they show up and the monster rips him apart.
Yeah.
And then you find out that the monster's actually your protagonist.
Right.
So that's an interesting turn.
I also feel like how Eraserhead was this mechanism for David Lynch to talk about being isolated as a new father. I feel like this is I'm not comfortable in my own body kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because like it's his brother. But it's still him.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of I think there's a lot of like body horror stuff going on. But then there is also there are these moments of comedy that are like kind of overt, and those are the ones that aren't really funny.
Yeah.
Like there's like the drunk guy in the hotel.
Oh, right. That are trying to be.
Yeah, and they like have a slapsticky thing, but they don't quite, you don't like laugh at them now.
Right.
But then like the gory murders and stuff are pretty funny because they're so over the top. And when the one woman ends up with all the syringes in her face and stuff, there's like these sort of set pieces. But then there's also, at the end, it sort of comes to the two brothers having this big blow up, and it's actually kind of
dramatic.
It's actually like a drama. And so to me, what's so fascinating is it's like, what were they trying to do? And were they trying to do all of these things?
Right.
Because that's incredibly impressive.
You're right. And I think it was all accident. I really do.
It's totally possible.
Because the stuff that was supposed to work doesn't work, and the stuff that was just supposed to be the other thing that it's not is now funny.
Yeah.
Right? But that's why I think that's why the director, because there was a screening some time ago,
Yeah.
unapproved, right? A secret
Yeah.
movie. I feel like the director is at odds with it. And I don't know who the director is.
Frank Henenlotter.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
Feels like it, right?
I don't know. I think it's hard to say because he did 2 sequels to it.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen in a long time, but I didn't
It
love.
can't be as
either.
good, yeah.
To me, the movie sort of has a definitive ending that I
Right.
really like.
Sure.
And then he made a movie called Brain Damage that was pretty similar.
Oh, okay.
It's about a guy and his like parasitic alien tumor.
Right. As you do.
Which is but sort of similar.
Yeah.
And then he made Frankenhooker.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And then he didn't make anything for maybe like 20 years. And then he just made a movie called Bad Biology.
I haven't seen it.
It's about a woman with her genitals are so strong that she automatically kills any man she has sex with.
She pulls her dicks off.
I think it just maybe.
I've never said that before, but yeah.
No, yeah, and then there's a guy who over-injects with erectile dysfunction medicine and has this super penis, and so they meet, and it's like a love story between the two of them.
I see.
That's totally insane.
That's kind of just minutely insane.
Yeah, but all his stuff has this sort of body obsession, but there's just something about Basket Case that's so.
It's
odd.
perfect for the
It's such an
time.
odd movie.
Yeah.
But it feels like a horror movie. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because Wicker Man, I love. It's one of my favorite movies. But like, I almost don't think of it as a horror movie.
It's too hard to pin as a horror movie.
It's almost like I think of it as like this mystery that I love.
Yeah.
But it's totally scary. It's
completely
creepy.
horrific. Yeah, it's very creepy.
But like, even though Basket Case is way less scary,
Yeah.
it's for some reason just feels like a horror movie.
Huh.
But it's also a weird movie. Like, there's this really long flashback in the middle of it to when he was a kid that almost is like something Pedro Almodovar would do.
Yeah.
Where it's like the second act is like half flashback.
It's so strange.
That comes up so late in the movie.
But definitely, I mean, I think it's one that people have to see because I keep thinking. I think about this is like the 6th movie. Now I've record from you guys. Great list.
Yeah.
And for Halloween, it's this particular time for me in terms of the weather and stuff.
Yes.
Is there anything that you do film wise that's this annual regiment that you go through?
I mean, I'll try to watch horror movies.
Yeah.
Kind of exclusively. Like I watched Bride of Frankenstein the other day.
Oh, yeah.
I just got this it's this documentary on the making of Friday the 13th. I'm going for some reason I'm getting like into those again. I don't know if it's like a retro kick, but it's there was this documentary on the Nightmare on Elm Street movies called Never Sleep Again. That's like 5 hours long.
Heard about it, but I've never seen it.
The same people made one on Friday the 13th.
Oh, cool.
That's like 8 hours long.
Jesus.
So I got that, and I got it on Blu-ray because I'm like, I'm not going to be able to watch that in
On VHS.
the length of an iTunes rental.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but like, I'm excited about like just sort of, because to me it's sort of the mood of horror movies. Like, I don't want to sit down and like see a new horror movie and, but it's just sort of like setting a mood of monster movies.
I love that stuff.
Yeah,
I love the nostalgia of it, And I feel like being here in King B and like it's kind of dark. The music's really, really interesting and not from decades ago. We sit here and get to talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Like I said, you mentioned punk rock. It's the Sex Pistols that just happened at the right time with the right people.
Yeah.
And you have Suspiria, which is this calculated Hitchcockian, beautiful.
Right, like that's like prog rock.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. King Crimson
in terms of music, right? Like, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre is noise.
Totally. So where the hell does Basket conclude this for me? Where does Basket Case fall into this metaphor? I can't even think about it.
Musically?
Yeah.
Well, musically, that might be the punk rock one. I mean,
I don't really.
If we.
Because
not musically. No, sorry, not musically. I mean, as a musical metaphor.
Right.
I think the music in Basket Case might even be like needle drop stock music stuff because it's really not memorable to me.
Yeah.
At all. But in terms of like if we were to
what is it with genre? Would it be?
I don't know. Well, then I don't know what the Texas Chainsaw Massacre would be.
I still think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like Black Flag to me because it's like visceral and violent, but still people.
Well, then maybe Basket Case is once punk got a little safe. Maybe that's like the
Buzzcocks or something.
Yeah, like once punk was like safer and more fun.
Interesting.
And like
the Ramones.
Yeah,
There you
right. Where it's like it's spitting in your eye, but it's
Still,
you
like,
know it.
catchy.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
But like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like, what the fuck? Just scorched earth.
I've never
Insane.
seen this
I've
before.
never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
And then Basket Cases, you've seen crazy stuff, so let's have fun with crazy stuff.
It's a weird time for it, man.
And then Suspiria is like, we've all seen crazy stuff. Let's elevate crazy stuff to
beautiful
modern art.
Yeah, unparalleled way. Well, there's a great list on.
If there's a chart, right, that it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre introducing modern horror, modern horror going off into sort of the odd. They're all three movies are odd,
right?
But Suspiria and Basket Case are.
I actually think that would be the best night to have. Watch all three of those.
Mm-hmm.
It would hit every part of your palate.
That's true.
Because you get funny and you get sweet and everything. So, but dude, talking with a filmmaker, talking with a fellow film nerd, it's brilliant to get to chat horror movies.
Yeah,
and be targeted. Have a targeted conversation.
Totally. No, and I feel like there's so many others that I could just.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just
don't kick yourself.
No,
these are good
I'm
ones.
Be fine.
Good.
Next Halloween, I'll have a different list.
Perfect. We'll have to talk about it again then.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Well, what do you guys think? I feel like taking some personal liberties on the show this week. Of course, it is Horror Movies a Week on Show TV. We had Billy Hankey, the owner and proprietor of King B, talking top 3 for him. There's a common thread of being taken over and the loss of control. Interesting peek into Billy's psyche there. And of course, Mr. Don Swaynos, editor, producer, director extraordinaire, with his top 3 as well. So we've got 6 horror movies. We got 6 more, talking to a few other great folks this Thursday, but 6. I hope that makes a good start to a list for your holiday horror movie watching extravaganza. I've got a couple in the mix that I'll suggest here about the end of the week, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And it's nice to not talk about booze just for once and talk about blood and guts. What do you guys think? So thank you for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter which movie you think is the worst out of the Halloween series, as I've mentioned it before, and I think that might in fact be Halloween 4, or what kind of candy you like to get in your grab bag during your trick-or-treating travels on Halloween, please keep dancing.